$3.3 billion.
Welcome back. We're now delighted to be joined over the telephone by our guest for this afternoon, Engineer Mostafa Naggari, Deputy Chairman of the Egyptian Exporters Association. A very good afternoon to you, Mr. Engineer Mostafa.
Good afternoon and Ramadan Kareem.
Likewise, sir. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. And let me start by asking you now, agricultural exports of fresh produce have risen by 1 million tons in 2023 to reach a record 7.4 million tons and have generated 3.7 billion US dollars. How do you see these numbers, Engineer Mostafa?
As we all have been talking about that the Egyptian agriculture competitiveness has been increasing a lot during the last 3-4 years.
Yes.
According to the
Engineer Mostafa, are you with us on the line? Engineer Mostafa, can you hear me, sir? Apologies, we have a technical issue with the line. A short break, and hopefully we'll get Engineer Mostafa back on the line. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We have with us over the telephone once again Engineer Mostafa Naggari, Deputy Chairman of the Egyptian Exporters Association. Once again, a very good afternoon to you, Engineer Mostafa.
Good afternoon.
Apologies for that. You were just saying before we lost you over the phone about agricultural exports that have risen to different countries. Yes, go ahead, sir.
Yeah. This is according to the high competitiveness of the Egyptian products regarding the cost and regarding the quality as well.
Yes.
And we have seen in Europe that the prices of the power and the gas have been rising a lot. And also they were facing a lot of droughts according to the climate change.
Yes.
Much more than in Africa. So according to that, most of the markets which was competing with Egypt, now they are importing from Egypt and they are depending on the Egyptian product to try to fulfill their requirements.
Yes.
So that's why we see such increase. The point is that we always say we have to increase the unit price of the exported unit. So if we say that we have exported 7.4 million tons with a revenue of 3.7 billion dollars, that means that each unit or each ton were exported have a revenue of $500 only. And that's why I'm, of course, trying through the council and through the Egyptian Exporters Association and the Egyptian Business Association to try to increase this value by obtaining new varieties with higher value, and also try to change the map of exports of our fresh products.
Absolutely. Now, the Minister of Agriculture, Said Qusir, said that the Egyptian fresh and processed agricultural exports combined have brought in $9 billion US. So Egypt is also venturing out to processing or industrializing agricultural produce before its export. How do you see the rise in the volume of these exports reflected in these figures, Engineer
Of course, it is a very good success, as we say. This is a very good success story. And we also have to mention that at least more than 120 markets are always open for the Egyptian exports. And lately, we have succeeded to reach Japan and to reach Brazil, which are, we consider Brazil one of the big gardens in the world, in the Latin America. So you can imagine that now in Brazil, they are depending mainly on the Egyptian garlic. So Egypt now, just in few years, We are covering the market of Brazil with garlic, with Egyptian garlic. We do hope that our government would lift the ban on export of onions because Egypt is considered to be the third biggest producer of onions. And what happened last year regarding the inflation of the prices and the high prices of onions was only regarding that Egypt has exported a higher quantity than what we always plan to expand. We expanded a lot in our exports of onions. That's why the market, the domestic market, was not having sufficient quantities, and the prices automatically increased.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Also, over the last 2 years, 406 agricultural products were exported from Egypt to over 160 markets, and we've seen an increase of 93 destinations from the previous year. Now, this diversification and branching out to different markets, how does it work to further improve our export lines?
In general, as you know, that to open a new market, it's not an easy issue. Yes. We have to go through a protocol between the plant quarantine in both countries to try to check the infestation and the insects and the environmental diseases. So that's why we always work year by year to try to open new markets. So we are reaching 160, but main of them is about 120, which is really, we can say now they are a traditional, we can consider them a traditional market for our products. Also, we have to mention that logistics have been playing a big role. Yes. To try to increase our exports and to try to reach as many markets as you mentioned. So we have to, of course, mention that due to the efforts of His Excellency Minister Kamil al-Wazir, we have succeeded to sign a deal with the Italian port Trieste to work a vessel, a Ro-Ro vessel, which is a speed vessel, to work from Damietta to Trieste only in 48 hours. And this is, I'm sure, is going to give a better result and better revenue for our exports, because we can export higher values of perishable products through this vessel, and we can also import a lot of other fruits like apples, like kiwis from Europe, which is already in our market. So it will help to balance the trade between Egypt and not only Italy, but the European Union in general.
Yes, absolutely, Engineer Mostafa. Another issue I wanted to talk to you about was, Egypt has gone a long way with regards to improving the quality of the produce as well, which has played a big role and offering more competitive prices according to other countries, even irregardless of the distance between Egypt and some of the countries that import fruits and vegetables from here. How do you see the work that has been done by the government to improve the quality of the produce?
I can tell that we have two mega projects, if we can say. One is the coding of the farms. So coding, it means that every farm will have a code, and this code will be evaluated on periodic issues to follow the crop and to follow the quantity. So at the end, we are sure that no quantity will be exported out of any crop unless it is inspected from day one, from seeding, the time of seeding the seeds in the land until it is harvested and packed in the pack house. Right. So this is one issue, is the coding. The other issue is the effort of the National Food Safety Organization, NAFTA. They are doing a great job to try to organize the pack houses and the cold stores and also the dry stores, and also from step packing until they are stuffed the commodity in the containers until it is left upon. So at the end we have two mega programs and two mega entities which are really doing a great job: the Plant Quarantine and Ministry of Agriculture and the National Food Safety Association.
Absolutely. And also, Engineer Mostafa, I wanted to talk to you about, the giant land reclamation projects that Egypt has been implementing, the government has been implementing, has also contributed to the rise of produce and exports. For example, projects those in Toshka, the New Delta, Northern and Central Sinai, have all increased Egypt's cultivated area, producing over 4 million fidans, producing additional produce for export. How do you see the land reclamation playing a role in this?
As I mentioned this before, that Egypt is having a strategy for 2030 to reach 12 million fidans. And as we all know that in Egypt, a big part of our agricultural land can be planted into seasons. I mean, we can plant in summer and winter.
Yes.
And also we have several circles of other products and crops. So that's why this 12 million fedan actually will give a production of 22 million fedan. And this will put Egypt in the standard of the 30 country among 195. So as we all know that the whole world is facing a food crisis, and Egypt is playing not only a national role but also international role.
Indeed.
To try to increase the productivity, and everybody is working, either the agricultural research centers, they are trying to implement new varieties of seeds and seedlings which can give a better productivity and also can consume less water, because the whole world is facing, we are all facing this starve of water, and really situation have to work hard in the direction of to try to increase the value of the cubic meter of water and the cubic and the square meter of land.
Absolutely.
So this is what we are planning. Yeah.
Absolutely. And of course, as you mentioned, there is a global crisis with regards to food security. The war in Ukraine, the war in Gaza, as well as, several other regional turmoils have disrupted international food supply chains, causing a steep rise in the prices
we
as well.
We have seen for the last 4 or 5 years that the geopolitics and the crisis everywhere can damage every house in Egypt, every house in the whole world, not only in Egypt. So that's why Egypt really was open while everybody was locked down at the time of Corona. But the Egyptian ports were open. We are trying to export as much as we can, and we were also open to try to cover our demands from wheat or corn or cereals or animal feed, which Egypt is a big importer of that. So that's why in the new mega projects in the reclamation land, there will be a part to try to close the gap between the demand and supply in some strategic crops, and also to try to increase the value of the production, the agricultural production, by implementing new varieties with a higher value, so you can export and have a higher revenue.
Absolutely right. Finally, Engineer Mostafa, I don't want to take much of your time, but the agricultural sector's contribution to the GDP has increased as well, from 12 to 15% over the last 3 years, making it, of course, an important source of foreign currency, as well as the fact that it employs 25% of the Egyptian labor force. How do you see these numbers, and how important is it to further develop this agricultural sector in this light?
I can tell you that in 1960s, in the 60s, the agriculture was consisting 60% of the GDP of Egypt, and it went down and down and down. This is not, we cannot say this is bad, but there was industry is coming, there was tourism is coming up, and so on. So I mean, we are considering that 15% at the time being for the GDP for agriculture is quite enough, because we at the end we are not one diverted economy. We have to look for industry, we have to look for tourism, we have to look for other services.
Absolutely.
To try to increase and not only play with one activity or two activities. So we have seen that the whole world now is changing their map of economy, and Egypt is well located, and everybody is looking for Egypt, that it is on the way of the trade road, as we say.
Yes.
So everybody is looking to try to come and to try to transform and transport their factories to Egypt, because now everybody is trying to close the logistic circle and to try to be in a way closer to the market. So Egypt is well located for that, and we are all ready, and we hope that the government with the private sector can both play a very good role at the time being to try to present the real face of Egyptian economy at the time being.
Yes, indeed, all the different opportunities.
Yeah.
Right, I'd like to thank you very, very much. Engineer Mostafa Naggari, Deputy Chairman of the Egyptian Exporters Association. Thank you so much, sir, for all your time and your insight, and for joining us this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, a short break, and we'll be back for more. Do stay tuned.